पीपल्स पार्टी, तहरीक इंसाफ, पाक सरजमीन पार्टी समेत दिगर सियासी जमातों के सरबराहान को एहतजाज में शिरकत की दावत दी गई है। ईरान ने कहा है कि शाम में अमेरिका की सरपरस्ती में कायम की जाने वाली 30,000 अफराद पर मुश्तमिल नई मजबूत फोर्स के कयाम से सिर्फ जंग के शोरों को हवा मिलेगी। ईरान का यह बयान रूस और तुर्की के रद्द-ए-अमल की बाज़गश्त है, जिसमें इन दोनों मुल्कों ने अमेरिकी मंसूबे पर सख्त नुक्ताचीनी की थी। शाम के सदर बशार अल असद ने अपने रद्द-ए-अमल में नई फोर्स की कुचलने और अमेरिकी फौजियों को मुल्क से निकाल बाहर करने के अज़म का इजहार किया था। भारतीय क्रिकेट टीम के कप्तान विराट कोहली अब तक कई रिकॉर्ड्स कायम कर चुके हैं और अब वो साबिक वेस्ट इंडियन क्रिकेटर ब्रायन लारा को पीछे छोड़ने के लिए तैयार है। दाएं हाथ के बैट्समैन कोहली 202 वनडे मैचेस में भारत के लिए 32 सेंचुरियां बना चुके हैं। यूं मजमूई तौर पर 53 इंटरनेशनल सेंचुरियों के साथ कोहली अब वेस्टइंडीज के साबिक कप्तान ब्रायन लारा के हमपल्ला होंगे। सेंचुरियों में सचिन तेंदुलकर पहले नंबर पर, जबकि रिकी पॉन्टिंग 71 सेंचुरियों के साथ दूसरे नंबर पर है।
सामीन, ये थी इस वक्त तक की अपडेट्स। मजीद अपडेट्स के साथ आपकी खिदमत में दोबारा हाजिर होंगे। तब तक के लिए अल्लाह हाफिज।
Local, national and international news. This is Salaam Radio.
You're listening to Peterborough's community radio, Salaam Radio. 106.2 FM.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Parenting Matters with myself, Sephora Horton. You are listening to Salaam Radio on 106.2 FM. Here on Parenting Matters, we intend to present a wide range of parenting topics, and we always encourage audience participation in a variety of discussions relating to families and children. Please do call in and join in with the conversation. The number to call is 01733 602 133, or you can send us a WhatsApp message on 07745 278 978. You can also message us on Facebook Live. Now, today's topic is languages. We'll be talking about bilingualism and multilingualism, the challenges that can arise from children speaking several languages, and also we'll be joined later over the telephone by a speech therapist who specialises in bilingualism and autism, so stay tuned for that discussion later on. Now, we're asking you, our audience today, how many languages does your child speak? Has your child faced any challenges or barriers when it comes to his or her language? Do they sometimes only answer in English when spoken to in their own home languages? And why do you think this might be? The number to call today to join in is 01733 602 133. Do call in and share your views with us. Now, today we have with us in the studio Muhadditha Jaffer, who is an Arabic teacher. She runs Lingo Top Peterborough, and Muhadditha holds a BA in Arabic and Development Studies from SOAS at the University of London, achieving a first-class honours. She continued her studies and travel in the Middle East for 3 years, and thereafter she established her own Arabic classes. She introduces young children to languages through play, rhyme and stories, and Muhadditha also teaches Arabic to older children and adults. Welcome, Muhadditha.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming today on a very cold day.
Indeed.
So, first of all, where did your own bilingual journey start?
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So I was case study A of someone who was not brought up bilingual, actually, despite quite favourable conditions. By favourable conditions, I mean my parents were bilingual and multilingual, and they spoke the languages at home. And second of all, I was brought up on Glaston Street. So if any of our listeners was brought up in Glaston Street in the 90s or even up to now, you won't hear much English on that street at all. So, and my dad owned a shop, Jeff Supermarket, on Glaston Street. So really, I should have been able to speak another language. It just didn't happen. Maybe because I've got 4 older siblings who spoke English at home, maybe I just wasn't inclined. To cut a long story short, in my late teens, as many people and many teenagers do, get more interested in Islam. They get more interested in Islam and more interested in the sources of Islam. So what I decided to do is do a BA at university in SOAS in Arabic in 2008. So I've been involved in the Arabic language for around 10 years now, studying it, teaching it, basically loving it. Mm-hmm. And alhamdulillah, I've had the opportunity to travel in the Middle East as well. The turning point came in 2015 when I had a son, Muhammad, and this made me analyse a little bit more about how a child can be brought up bilingual, especially for myself who wasn't. It didn't happen for me. So I've now got this gift. Here am I with a gift that I've struggled with for the past and worked hard on for the past 10 years, the Arabic language. I'm desperate to pass it on to my son. How do I do it? How do I go about it? And that's really brought me where I am today. As you mentioned, I do have classes for children, which are very focused on how they learn through movement, through rhyme, through play, a free environment rather than a structured repeat after me kind of environment, as well as to older children and adults as well. So that's really brought me where I am today in being bilingual through effort, conscious effort, not through it being absorbed.
And you're a fluent Arabic speaker, right?
Now, alhamdulillah, I am, although when I teach Arabic, it's Fusha, so it's the classical standard Arabic. When you go to the Middle East, any country, they've got their Ammiya dialect, which differs in different parts of, the Arab world. So
I guess that could be said for all languages. I mean, you've got the sort of more classical
formal
format,
yeah.
and then you've got the sort of the dialect that people speak in a more local.
If you do speak Fusha, you are understood. But you might sound like a news anchor or a cartoon because it is very formal, but yes.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the benefits of children speaking more than one language.
Okay. So when children speak a different language, it definitely develops their brain capacity and their brain power. Some studies have shown that bilinguals, especially if you're brought up bilingual, they become better at multitasking because the hypothesis is anyway that the effort to choose a different language in different situations is like a mental gymnastics, extra practicing and focusing attention. So it kind of works its way in different environments too. Other things, there's loads of benefits. Other ones are like empathy. For example, children who are brought up speaking a different language are able to consider other people's perspectives. And this can work out in different ways. In a room with lots of different people, a child will know who to speak to in which different language. They'll know, I can't speak, whatever, Urdu here, they don't understand it. I can't speak this, so I'm going to speak this to them. Yeah. So it just teaches them that empathy of putting yourself in someone else's position. It sounds simple, but for a child, it's a really big milestone. So it's amazing. And in terms of the brain power, it can delay things like Alzheimer's and dementia. And again, the hypothesis here is that improving that executive function of the brain creates a cognitive reserve, which can delay the onset of these diseases.
Wow. So it's not just a benefit they have in childhood, it's a benefit that's going to see them
through
into later years and adulthood as well.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
Excellent. You talked a little bit about singing rhymes and, teaching through stories and books and things.
Yeah.
What are the benefits of reading to children?
Yeah.
And, we're talking about literacy here and, the use of books in terms of teaching them another language.
Sure. So we'll hear quite often that children are like sponges, and it's so true. I've read studies that show that children's brains work up to 3 times faster than an adult. It makes sense. I think of my 2-year-old son. When he looks at the world around him, he's not looking with the eyes that I do. He's taking everything in, and his brain is working in overdrive. So reading is an extremely beneficial habit even in later life. And for example, just from an Islamic perspective, imagine getting to know the sources of Islam by reading rather than just hearing something and getting your knowledge from that. Already that's a big advantage. But reading is a great skill anyway. Again, reading exercises the brain. It's more complex than watching TV. Watching TV is kind of a passive exercise. You're being given someone else's imagination on a screen. When you're reading, you're having to translate that description into a picture in your mind. So it's making new connections, strengthening connections. By reading, you learn about the world, people, events, places outside your own experience. A really big thing for children and reading is vocabulary. And this works in terms of the fact that we're speaking about being bilingual. When parents or carers read to their children, and I do mean a live reading, not just playing it on the radio, that does have benefits too. But when there's a live reading, the intonation of voice, that interaction, being able to ask questions about the book, about the characters, can be extremely beneficial in the kids' imagination, in their vocabulary increasing, being able to use words in different situations, which is an amazing gift to give children as well.
And we're talking about books in different languages or English as well as different languages?
English as well, definitely English as well. Even though we are fluent in English, there are so many words even we don't know. So by increasing that from a young age, encouraging reading, they're just getting a larger sort of bank of vocabulary, even in English, and even better in another language as well.
Yeah. So what about parents who don't speak much English themselves? How can they help their children?
Well, I mean, I would say that they could try and attempt to learn as well. I mean, do you mean in terms of how to help their children with English if they don't speak much English?
I mean, if they aren't reading English, for instance, sharing books and rhymes and songs with their children may be more of a challenge for them.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, well, I think parents who don't speak much English, I mean, they could also focus on their own language as well and try and do those activities in their own language. So, for example, if it's an Urdu speaker, there's no harm in going online, buying a few kids' books in Urdu and just going for it with Urdu. It's not just an English thing. And especially in England, children will learn, inshallah, English when they do go to school. So why not go 100% with Urdu or whatever other language and let that be literature. I mean, we're in the Allama Iqbal Center right now and talk about poet, talk about literature.
Yeah.
Urdu and Arabic have, amazing literature. I wish I could understand Urdu to the extent that some of my friends can, because it's just stunning. So I'd say if English isn't your first language, if you're struggling with English, go for it in your own language, and children will get the benefits with those languages.
I suppose it's about changing the cultural mindset as well, isn't it? Because, I mean, as far as I'm aware and from what I've been brought up with, the Asian mentality is not really to read to your children or to sort of share books and rhymes and songs and things. So, I mean, I don't know how that differs from sort of culture to culture, and but certainly within the Asian subcontinent, it's not the sort of the normal done thing.
Yeah. Having said that, I mean, most people will remember from their childhood a nursery rhyme that their mum or dad, especially mum probably, would have sung to them. There is that in the back of their mind. So, I think it's across cultures, but maybe an effort is required in some more than other cultures.
Yeah. What else can parents do at home to help their children's language development? So we've talked about the reading, the books, the rhymes and things like that. What else can they do?
Yeah.
What are the tips?
Well, these days there's lots of resources available. If, we've got technology at our fingertips. So you can always go online and find, child-friendly literature. And I think that's the way to go sometimes, rather than having too high expectations, coming with some very, thick books that you might want yourself. Try and start with child-focused resources. I've got three main principles really that I've thought of. They're kind of overarching principles. And the first one is to maximize exposure. That can be both in and out of the home. Attending group settings where the language is spoken is excellent, especially, child-focused activities where they might be playing or singing nursery rhymes or that kind of thing. The second one is to encourage the child. I mean, sometimes children do need that encouragement. Although being bilingual isn't uncommon, sometimes in this environment in England, it's not. It might be out of the norm for their school friends, for example. So encourage them and value it. Value that it is spoken in and out of the house, and what a precious gift it is. I think that can't be undervalued. And the third one is not to give up. And I'm talking to myself here because I'm going to be trying to make my son bilingual, so try not to give up. Don't take it personally if your child refuses to speak the language straight away. Yeah. Keep up that gentle encouragement and exposure and find a compromise if you need to.
Okay. We've just had a call come through. We're just going to go to the call now. Assalamu alaikum, caller. You're live on Salaam Radio.
Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome, Salaam.
Sister Safar, this is Imtiaz Ali.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you, brother?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm really enjoying your show.
Good.
And I think it's an excellent topic. I just wanted to call in and just echo what your guest is saying in terms of, the expanding the language that your child is exposed to, especially at a young age. I mean, it helps so much in terms of their development, in terms of their imagination. It helps in school. And I think, we sometimes neglect our children at a young age. And we tend to ignore them and not talk to them and not to interact with them and not read to them as often enough. And then we try catching up later on when it comes time to
absolutely.
do their GCSEs, A-levels, and it's a little bit late then, isn't it? It's
so true.
The earlier the better.
Yeah. Brother Imtiaz, how many languages does your child speak?
So we are a bilingual house. My wife speaks Punjabi with them, so they do understand it. Obviously, they're a lot more confident in English, so they'll speak in English. But the other thing about the reading was I read somewhere that a child needs to hear a word 7 times before they're confident to use it, and then they need to use it about 7 times within their own vocabulary before they're confident to use it in a bit of writing.
So that's a lot of practicing to fit in with your child.
Yeah, a lot of practice. Yeah, I mean, you can't just repeat the same word 7 times. It's got to be in conversation. But, just this whole reading, talking, interacting, just expanding their language, and then, and then teaching them to be bilingual. I mean, I think that really helps in their development, in their ability to communicate in later life.
Absolutely. Have you ever faced the challenge that your children sometimes will only answer in English when you've spoken to them in their own home language?
Oh, all the time. I've got 4 children, and only one of my children is confident in speaking in Punjabi. They all understand it absolutely fine. And then the one who's confident in speaking in Punjabi, she's not afraid of making mistakes.
Right.
And I think that sometimes you get that with children as well. They don't want to accidentally say the wrong thing. If they're confident speaking in English, they'll choose to not say something in Punjabi or Mirpuri because they're like, somebody's going to laugh at them. So that may just come down to a bit of confidence, but yeah, I mean, like your guest says, you just got to persist with it, and don't be afraid to make mistakes, and don't be afraid if your children aren't responding in the language that you speak to them in. As long as they understand it, they will grow that confidence over time.
Yep.
Definitely. I think a point that you mentioned, brother, about neglecting our children when they're younger, it's the sunnah of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to give extra attention to children. When I was doing some research about this, it was just wonderful to hear how he dealt with children, and he gave them so much attention. When he'd say salam to an adult, he would say it to the child as well, and we can take from that, especially even when we're teaching our children, to give them that attention that they deserve, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's an excellent point. You have the situation where, certainly in Asian households, I don't want to stereotype, but in Asian households, when adults get together and having a conversation and chat, and a child comes in and says, "Mom, Mom," or "Dad, Dad," and they're like, "Go next door, shush," and they kind of push them away. But what we have to do is we have to put the adult on hold for a little while and just actually engage with the child every opportunity we get, because that is absolutely the most important thing. The adult's not going to lose patience and walk away. They're there as guests. You have to take every opportunity. And, they're going to get to their teens where they're going to stop talking altogether, so you might as well take advantage of them when they're 4, 5, 6 and you engage in their conversations, because when it's too late, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Thank you very much, brother, for sharing your experiences with us.
Thank you for taking my call. And yeah, thank you, and I'm really enjoying the show. You did a great job, and I'll continue to listen, and well done.
Great, thank you. Thanks for listening.
Assalamu
alaikum. Welcome, salam. That was a great call there.
Yeah,
it's great to hear about people's experiences, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, when you were talking about children, a couple other things that parents can try and avoid when they're trying to encourage children to speak the language is not to make fun of them. It's easy to say, they made such a cute little mistake there, that sounds so cute, but children they're souls, they're humans, they are sensitive, so trying to avoid that.
And I think it's very easy to put a child off. You can say one thing wrong and that's it. You'll never get that out of them again. Exactly. And sometimes it's something like, if they've sung a funny song, and it's got nothing to do with language. I'm talking about, with my youngest. I've got 4 children myself, but with my youngest, if she comes out with a funny song and we laugh at her, or you're laughing in a sort of cute way, that she's doing something really entertaining, and that's it. She won't do it again because it's something that she's picked up on. She thinks that you're making fun of her, and it's the same with languages. I guess a child is, especially at that age, they're very sensitive and they're afraid of making mistakes. So I guess it's about dealing with it in a sensitive manner. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was madrasas and supplementary schools. Now, obviously, I mean, they vary, obviously. There are different madrasas out there. From my own knowledge and my own experience, especially the madrasas where the vast majority of children who are of South Asian origin go to, they tend to teach Arabic in a manner where you don't necessarily understand Arabic while you're learning it. So you're learning the alphabet, the sounds, etc. And up until a certain age, and sometimes up until sort of till you're a teenager and even into adulthood, you may not necessarily understand what you've learnt. So you may become a fluent reader of the Quran or of Arabic, but you may not necessarily understand what you're reading. How does that sort of learning affect a child's literacy or their cognitive development, their language development?
First thing I would say, there are definitely benefits to reading, reciting the Quran, listening to the Quran, even if you don't understand it. The fact is that we know the Quran is the word of God. It's a miracle. Even listening to it, even that sound has benefits. So there's no way to underplay that. Having said that, when we have an opportunity for children, an opportunity to teach them more than just the words. We can teach them the meaning. And at the end of the day, the Quran is hudan linnas. It's a guidance. It's not just to be recited. It's to actually guide us, and so we can actually change the path of our lives based on this book. We have a big an opportunity here. We can teach our children how to. Sorry,
it's okay. Yeah, I think we've just got another call.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
I'm just going to put the call through because we've only got a couple of minutes before we go on to the break. Assalamu alaikum, caller. You're live on Salaam Radio.
Yeah, walaikum salam.
Who am I speaking to?
Yeah, my name is Javed. I just want to talk about early learning for the children.
Sure, go ahead.
And share some of my experience. My daughter, I've got a 17-year-old daughter now. She's doing, mashallah, very well. Mm-hmm. She speaks bilingual because both my wife speaks Urdu and I speak English with her. But one thing which has been really benefit to us is when she was in primary school, her primary school got her into reading habit. Mm-hmm. And this is starting with year 3, year 2 type, going to regularly to libraries. Virtually every Saturday is going to library, sometime even ending up buying books, reading books of her choice. That has been immensely beneficial for her learning English language skills, which actually gives them not an added advantage, gives them the same level of advantage as other children when they come to key stages. So I really recommend through your program early reading habits, both for parents and for children, because if parents don't read, then the children are not going to learn that.
Absolutely. We've got to set a good example to the children.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what you're saying is, in your experience, even reading English books has benefited your children in their language development?
Well, in fact, significantly English reading books, because that's the language they're going to learn in school. Yeah. And that's the language they always, sometimes, I'm making it generalized, but children, a lot of them are lagging behind in English language. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about across the families where they have very little educational background in the families. Yeah. So in a way, it is giving fair to be justice to our children to give them the levels start with the same as others. Right. So reading English books from the library, from year 2, year 3 on of their type, parents making a habit to taking them, that will really calculate the right attitude and learning habits, which will actually help them in key stages.
Definitely. Brother Jawed, one last question. Did you sort of favour English over your home spoken languages with your daughter?
Yes, she speaks to me in English mainly.
Right.
But she speaks to mother almost exclusively in Urdu. Right. And Urdu was the language was her mother tongue that she started. Because with our older children, we started with English, and in this case, my wife wanted to start with the mother tongue. Right. And for the first 2 years, 3 years, she was speaking exclusively Urdu.
Okay.
But then we started talking to her in English as well, and she has learned English as well. She has done French and passed that in GCSEs. She's now doing writing. She's doing writing Urdu A levels.
Right.
So in a way, I think mother tongue is also important. It's not just a language. It's learning the culture and what is behind it. Yep. And it also links in with learning Quran. Yes. So in a way, I think mother tongue is a very strong important. But English learning from an early stage, particularly reading, and parents need to take them to libraries. If not buying books, I don't know. Buying books can be expensive, but that has been worth it. It's even £5 or £6 a week. For one child adds up. Yeah. But I think in my case, I'm totally happy that this has happened.
So in your experience, definitely actively encouraging both languages, home languages and English, and being active readers. Excellent.
I think children can do it. I think children can do it, definitely.
Most definitely. Thank you very much, Brother Jawed, for sharing that with us today. Thanks for your call.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. You're welcome. Bye.
Assalamu alaikum. Bye.
Bye.
Another excellent call. MashaAllah.
Definitely, yeah. I think it shows parents, someone who's so devoted to their children. It makes a huge difference. Someone active. It's amazing. Yeah.
I think it was great to hear from Brother Jawed there because, I think it does show that, even if you are just reading English books and, despite the fact that you're trying to teach your child Arabic, if you're just focusing on English books, it will still help with their language development, how they grasp the language, how they contextualize in their brains, how they compartmentalize different languages and different words. It helps. Mm-hmm. So, never underestimate the importance of reading and also, as you teach, songs and rhymes as well, especially for the in the early years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, So we were talking a little bit about the madrasas and the supplementary schools.
Yeah.
So, what was your view on that?
Well, what I was saying is that we have an opportunity here in Madaris to teach more than just the script, although it has its place and it's amazing to do that. I think the two main things here, even in terms of just teaching the script and the sounds of Arabic, is that the teacher who does it is qualified. Many times in my very short career, I mean, it's not been long, but I've seen children almost inherit the mistakes of their teachers, right. Even in Arabic pronunciation, script. And in Quran, it's quite important to pronounce things, give it their haqq, give each letter its right. So that's one thing. I would say when parents are deciding on which madaris or how to go about their children's Islamic education or Arabic education, choose a teacher who's qualified in that field, even Islamic. We wouldn't accept anything below par for academic education. So why for Islamic education? And second of all is the method of dealing with children, which is what we discussed briefly from the previous caller, from following the sunnah of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He dealt with children in a very kind way. So when I think of some madaris, I mean, I don't have that much experience of the system of madaris, but sometimes from friends I've heard of their experience being a very repetitive, repeat after me, no room for questioning, no room for kind of that nurturing children's natural inquisitive nature when it comes to Islam. It's more like follow me, repeat after me. It can be quite harsh even in terms of how it's enforced.
So you mean the learning by rote? You think it's not always...
Especially for age 0 to 7, when it's meant to be a child-focused approach. I read about the Prophet that kindness towards children was one of the special practices of the Holy Prophet. So we're meant to guide them. We have an opportunity here with Madaris. Maybe there's a revolution here with Madaris, but there is hope a change is coming if it's required, because it's a huge a gift we've been given, that we can make the next generation of Muslims better than we are, no more than we are at a younger age, and there's a lots of opportunity there.
Yeah, definitely. We're very quickly just going to a short break, but after the break we're going to be talking to a speech therapist, so stay tuned for that, and hopefully you'll be able to put your calls to her as well. We'll be back after this short ad break.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
Salaam Radio presents a very special event, the recitation of the Quran, featuring world-renowned Sheikh Abu Bakr al-Shatri, 5 p.m. on Saturday